Welcome back, Raider Nation. The Las Vegas Raiders have just defeated the New York Jets by a score of 16-12 on Sunday Night Football. So there's not a lot to say about this game, really. It was a pretty defensive-oriented game. There was only field goals really until the fourth quarter when the Raiders scored a touchdown, and it it felt like so. It really did. Um, but hey, the Raiders pulled off an ugly win, and it's a win that they definitely needed. So let's start with the Raiders offense. I know that Antonio Pierce had said that he wanted to emphasize the running game tonight, give Jacobs about 25 touches. Um, Josh Jacobs actually ended up getting 27 touches for 116 yards. No touchdowns, but a longest rush of 40 yards. Um, but also, the offensive line for the Raiders was a little bit banged up tonight. They didn't have Colton Miller. Jermaine Illuminor was coming back after a long time not playing. And the Jets defensive front is one of the best units in the league, I would say. So they were stuffing the Raiders on a lot of their running attempts. So I feel like after they would get stuffed, they kind of relied on O'Connell's arm a little bit more than I think what they wanted to. And the Raiders' offense didn't really seem to click until that fourth quarter, where they ended up scoring the only touchdown in the game. That was set up by a Josh Jacobs 40-yard run that put him in scoring position, and then capped off by Aiden O'Connell to Michael Mayer touchdown. But besides that, all they really could do was try and keep pace with the Jets' offense. But the Jets' offense weren't really doing much either. And that brings me to the Raiders' defense. The Raiders' defense was really getting bailed out by just undisciplined plays by the Jets and just making multiple mistakes in scoring opportunities. They had to settle for field goals multiple times on multiple drives, and they just seemed to always shoot themselves in the foot. And the Raiders' defense didn't really seem to put together a really good defensive stop until a Robert Spillane interception. The Jets were moving down the field, and they seemed poised to, score again to go up on the Raiders. But Robert Spillane got an interception, and it seemed at the time to be a game-sealing interception. But back on the Raiders' offense, they could not do anything. They could not capitalize on a turnover, and the Raiders' offense went 3-and-out and had to punt the ball back to the Jets. This was late in the fourth quarter, and they ended up driving down the field, getting in position to throw a last-minute Hail Mary. Obviously, it didn't end up working, but the Raiders' defense couldn't really do much of anything either. I honestly expected to see more out of Max Crosby. Watching the Jets' offense last week against the Chargers, their offensive line was really, really bad. And I expected Max Crosby to have a big day, and he honestly was not around. But looking back at, some of these clips, they really did key in on Max Crosby. He had a lot of double teams. He was still putting up a little bit of pressures. But he didn't end up with a sack. And I know sacks aren't the end-all, be-all for, edge rushers. But I honestly did expect him to have at least a couple of sacks. So the Raiders have to look forward to a Miami offense that is probably the best offensive in the league, maybe. I'm hoping to see a lot more of the Jets that we've seen against the Giants than we did tonight against the Jets. but that is yet to be seen. The Antonio Pierce era starts off 2-0. You can't argue with a win, and as long as we keep winning, uh, you can't really argue with that. No matter they're ugly, if they're blowouts, it doesn't really matter. As we just need to get wins, just win, baby. Am I right? So I'll see you back here again against Miami next Sunday, and we'll see. We'll talk about how the Raiders did then. But until then, have a great night, Raider Nation. Just win, baby, and I'll see you next time.
Walker.